didn't make it.
I could see you as a cheerleader.
Good.
Yeah.
I look like a cheerleader. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chamber Talk Show. I'm Dr. Tamika Manning, and today I sit down with the doctors to discuss the state of our country, from COVID-19 to police brutality, including how all of these things impact our mental health. In addition, I have Dallas County Sheriff Marion Brown, who stopped by to discuss how she too perseveres in tough times. Let's sit down to see what everyone has to say. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Chamber Talk Show. Today I am joined by someone who is really the epitome of perseverance. Sheriff Marion Brown is here with us today, and we're so excited to have her. This is election season, so this is also a great opportunity for us to hear more about your platform as well. But with the Chamber, we focus on healing and we focus on restoration. And if you could talk to us really about the position that you're in today, because so many people look to you for that and the leadership role that you're in.
Doctor, thank you, first of all, for having me on your show today. I really appreciate the invitation. Thank you for your consideration. The position in which I serve is a very stressful, it's a high stress position. And of course, that does not mean that there are not other high stress level positions, but this is a daily position of considerations about life, people's lives, other people's lives, those persons who work for me, those persons who are charged to my custody and my care, those persons who are around me in the community who are looking for answers. Every day is about making hard decisions. And so it's a very high stress position. And it's one that I have found that the only way that I can survive is to have a source of a place to go, if you will, to kind of breathe down a little bit, exhale, and then find myself again, so to speak.
We're in the midst of a pandemic, and speaking of that, it's a high stress time for all of us. You just mentioned you have to have a place to go. People in society are running all over the place trying to find answers. What message would you give to the people? What would you say to them to ask them to hold on, to continue to persevere? Because I think at the end of the day, we're all looking for relief and success.
I would encourage them to lean on whatever that thing is that they have, that they would go to what I call pre-COVID, whatever it was, lean even harder on that thing. For me, I'm a very spiritual person, so for me, it's leaning on my spiritual life, which in and of itself is a challenge because right now, you know, you can't have traditional worship services and that kind of thing in many places. So it's a challenge, but it's why you have to lean even more so on that thing right now. You have to look for ways to heal your inner being, if you will. I find that in this position, and especially in a male-dominated profession, you know, it is very difficult. I have to work harder, I have to work smarter, and I have to sit back and I mentioned to you earlier about the elections. I sit back and I listen and I have to take what comes at me and I have to still stay the course. I have to maintain, and it's a challenge to do that. And if I didn't have a source of some place where I could go, where I could escape, then I don't know how I'd survive with that.
In the Chamber, I deal with a lot of ladies. I deal with doctors, and just so happen to be African American women. Women who look to you because you have already proven that your success. What would you say to us? Because there are times when we often become weary and we're tired, but we want to keep going.
I would say you just have to stay the course. You cannot listen to the fodder that is in your ear. You can't be distracted by those things, that ancillary stuff that's going on around you. I'll give you an excellent example. It's very timely. today there's an article that comes out in the paper, and that article talks about our response to the pandemic in the county jail system. In the state of Texas, Dallas County is the second largest system, okay? Yet the state of Texas Jail Commission, which is the regulatory board for county jails, there are 254 counties in the state of Texas. So the state jail commission posts every day what's going on in terms of COVID in every one of those 254 counties. So I've been encouraging people to go and look at Dallas, because I don't want to just tell them, because I don't want them to think that I'm just telling them that because I'm the head of the Dallas County Sheriff's Department. I want them to go and look for themselves, so that when they see an article that comes out, like today's article that comes out and says, well, it questions the response of the county sheriff to this pandemic in the facility, I want them to already be equipped with information from a source that they know is reliable, so that when they read this over here in the paper, they can take it and sift it with a grain of salt, as my mother would say, and make their informed decisions about it. So I would say to others such as myself, stay the course, stay the course. You can't listen to all of the stuff that's going on around you. Don't be swayed by it. Talk to yourself. I'm notorious for telling people to talk to yourself, because again, being a spiritual person, what I tell people is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Exactly. So if you think that you are, then that's what you're going to be. So you have to tell yourself, you know what? I'm beyond what it is that they're saying over here. I am not what they say that I am. And so I'm notorious for telling people, and that's one of the things that I would say to women such as myself, is talk to yourself. Tell yourself what you are. You are fearfully and you are wonderfully made, and that is a fact.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about your track record, because you were the first African-American female police officer in Duncanville.
That's
Talk
right.
about that.
That's right.
In your
You know, it was not my intent to become a police officer. I went to school because I wanted to be a journalist, and got sidetracked in the last year of college and decided that I wanted to do this policing thing for about a year, get it out of my system, then get back to real life, what my mother had sent me to school for. And so when I went to the Duncanville Police Department, I went there because it was a smaller agency, and I said, well, there can't be a whole lot going on there. That way I can do this for a year and be done with it. And I got there, realized that Duncanville is surrounded by Dallas on 3 sides, which means that so as Dallas goes, so goes Duncanville as well. Went there was nobody there who looked like me. About a year into it, decided, I'm not ready to stop yet. I think I'm going to keep going. And 4 years into my career there, I decided, you know what, I'm going to affect change here, and not only affect change within the community, but within the little microcosm that is my workspace, the all-white males that I work with right here. I'm going to affect change there and have them see me as a human being, see me as someone who has feelings, someone who has needs, someone who cares. And so I started to rise in the rank there because I wanted to affect change, and I realized that the only way that I really could affect change was to rise up in management. And so that's where my journey really began.
So then your message mentally to even young boys and girls who see you is that there's nothing too hard, that you can accomplish anything.
Oh yes, there's nothing to say that it's going to be easy, because there were times in reality when things were said, and they weren't said to me, but they were said in earshot to make sure that I could hear them, or there were things that were done and it left you looking around wondering, okay, well, where'd that come from? But again, I say, you can do it. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. And you don't have to be dissuaded by the people that are around you, by your naysayers.
And the people around you a lot, we're talking about the jail, and we're talking about people who are impacted by mental health. How often do you see that?
I see that all the time. Probably a third of the population in the Dallas County jail system has issues with mental illness. And so sad to say that we are the largest provider in Dallas County and almost in the state of Texas for mental illness services. But that is something that affects all of us. You know, these are families, these are husbands and wives and daughters, nieces and nephews, and everybody is affected when there is mental illness.
Absolutely. So we're in 2020. We're in the midst of COVID-19. We've had quite a few issues with police brutality. So the world has been in an uproar. As we move forward, what is your platform and what would you leave us with?
Okay. What I say is, first of all, I think it's important for people to realize that 9 times out of 10, when people get into law enforcement, they don't get into law enforcement saying, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to be this horrible person and I'm going to one day do something really bad and I'm going to destroy somebody's life and I'm going to destroy my own life. I'm going to destroy the life of my family. They don't go in with that motive. They genuinely go in with a pure heart, with an effort to make things better. Somewhere along the way, a bad decision is made. And I tell people all the time, I said, when you have an opportunity, make a good choice, because bad choices are standing by in law enforcement, waiting on you. They're expecting you, and they're ready to reach out and grab you when you least expect it. So make good choices. So we have people who make bad decisions. We have people whose hearts are not pure. There are some folks whose heart are not pure. I get that. And when you have those instances, that's why it's important for us, those of us, such as myself, who stand up, stand out, and say, well, here's what we are all about, and here's what is acceptable, here is not what is acceptable. And when we find those things that are occurring that are not acceptable, we have got to hold ourselves accountable. We've got to police ourselves. That's what the community wants us to do. They want us to be able to police ourselves. That is, when we do something wrong, own it. I don't care how it looks. Say, you know what, my bad, that's my mistake, I did that. How can I fix it? Rather than trying to make excuses, turn it around, make it look like something it is not. Be accountable for it. That's what the community is asking us, and I think that that's an important measure for us to do. When I became the sheriff of Dallas County, before I swore in anybody else to be a deputy under me, one of the things I said was, I'm going to ask you to recommit to whatever it was that brought you to law enforcement, because I believe your heart was pure when you first came. So what I did was I said, these are going to be our core values: integrity out loud, professionalism out front, accountability in all. And I said, and so think about that for a few minutes. And when you're ready to recommit to that, raise your hand, your right hand. That will let me know that you're ready to be sworn in. So I waited. We were in the central jury room at the Crowley Courts building, and I waited. And I looked around. After a couple of minutes, I saw all hands up. And I said, okay, that means we're ready. And so I swore in some 500 deputies who recommitted to integrity, professionalism, and accountability. And that's what our department works toward this very day.
Amazing. We only have a few minutes left. Let's talk about your biggest challenge and your greatest victory.
My biggest challenge, let me come back to that. Okay. My biggest victory has probably been becoming the sheriff of Dallas County. It was never my intent. I told you to go into law enforcement. Yes. Certainly, as a police officer, I was a very private person. I was kind of pulled back, and it was never my intent to be a public servant in terms of being out there in politics. So that's probably been a huge victory for me, because it's something that I was kind of thrust into, pushed into, called into. And it's something that once I decided that that was what my calling, where my calling was going, that I wanted to do. And so that's been a huge victory for me. Challenges have always been getting, and this was prior to me reaching the level of being an administrative person in law enforcement. The challenge was always making sure, or feeling like I had to prove myself to the guys. You know, if we go here, if we go there, if it's time for the range, if it's time for defensive tactics, always feeling like I had to prove myself that I could manage, that I could do the job. So that's why I say women have to work harder and they have to work smarter. Well, once I learned, I convinced myself that I could do it, then I was able to get the others to see that I could do it as well. And so if there was something that was going on, it wasn't uncommon for them to say, hey, can you help me out with this? Because I found that while you will go in there and you will talk yourself into trouble, I'll go in there and I'll talk us out.
Okay.
So that's probably been one of the most biggest challenges, is just trying to prove that you know what you're doing, that you can do the job, and you can do it just as well. You can do it better, and you can look good doing it.
So what you're saying to me is it really just goes back to your mindset.
Indeed.
Your capacity to know that you can conquer everything.
Indeed.
I really appreciate you coming, Sheriff Brown.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for having me.
Okay, I just want to start off by saying the part that really touched with me was when she was talking about this is not just something she was pursuing, there was a calling on it. And I feel that that can resonate with anyone who finally gets to the point where they're walking in their purpose. Because I know there are several days, even as a physician, this has been a lifelong dream. But if I don't feel that unless I was called to do this, that I could do it and do it over and over again with the same zeal like I did on my first day.
I like that. I like that. It's just the fact of her journey, you know, and her being the first at so many things. I mean, if you think about it, she is one of only 5 African American sheriffs in this country. So it amazes me. And then it actually made me reflect, like, am I in my calling? What am I supposed to be doing every day? Yeah. So the fact of just persevering, period, is like a major question in my head. Like it's like it turned on a light bulb for me. So.
Yeah. And what struck me was when she said, stay the course. Because when we think about persevering, that is really what it embodies, is how to stay the course when things get really uncomfortable. Because that's when we like to just pick up and just put it aside, whatever it is. But being able to just stick through it and have the grit and determination is really powerful.
Yeah. I love the way she incorporated the affirmations. I'm big on affirmations myself. So the fact that she said, women, you know, believe that you are wonderfully made. Say that to yourself. Yes. Look in the mirror and say those things. So reciting affirmations, and if you believe it, you can achieve it. So I really enjoyed that segment. It was really great.
You know what? I learned that in like 7th grade. And I tried out for cheerleader. I know I went way back. I tried out for cheerleader and I didn't make it.
I can see you as a cheerleader.
And good.
Yeah.
I look like a cheerleader.
But you have that personality, because whenever I do talk to you and we are talking, and I'm not necessarily negative, but I am very sarcastic. You're like, oh no, it's gonna be all right. Yay! Give me a 1.
I learned that in 7th grade.
Yes.
Like literally, like I tried out, I didn't make it. So I said, okay, I'll work harder for next year. So I worked the whole year. Then I tried out in 8th grade and I didn't make it. So I was like, well, what the heck is going on? You know, so I finally made cheerleader in my 9th grade year. And then it's like something was just like, I could do anything. Cause it was major for me. Like all my sisters were cheerleaders. How old are you in 9th grade? I don't even know. 15, 14 years old. Yeah. And so I've been believing in me ever since.
That's good. I wonder.
Say something smart. I know she wants to say something smart.
No, I'm gonna say something sassy. No, but I wonder what her circle looks like. Because I don't believe that you get to that level of success. You know, her so many first Black, so many first woman. You don't get there without a tribe. Like there's no way I'm where I am right now. There's no way this table is formed without a tribe. And what I've noticed about my tribe in people that are in my tribe, when I meet the other compartments of their tribe, it's some characters. There's always the cheerleader, there's always the amateur comedian, and there's always like the mother hen that kind of, and I could see her as that like mother hen, like she's law and order. Mm-hmm. I could see her as that mother hen, but I would love to see her tribe and what that looks like. Because I just don't think that you make it to that level of success without your tribe.
Right. So basically a support system, somebody who's rallying you on. And if you guys know, getting a doctorate now, I'm not sure what it is. I know it's probably cumbersome to get your medical degree, you know, get your license. But for this doctorate and this doctoral stuff, it was like, I'm about to fight somebody. So I don't know what y'all's experience was. I was like, let me see the president of the university. So it's like, but I had friends that said, you know what, keep going. It's going to be okay. And, you know, you'll make it through it. So April, what was your experience the same at the end?
No, I mean, my experience, it was good. It was free flowing.
Okay,
because I was organized and I had a mission.
Okay,
I had
maybe
really
I
good
wasn't
mentors.
organized.
So my mentor was like, just get it done. And so that's kind of helped me keep the course. But I did have a really good support system. A lot of girlfriends, come on, where are you at? Did you finish it? Did you turn it in yet? So that was really good for me.
I took a 3-week break one time and I just disappeared. I mean, I don't know, I may have been going through some things and I said, okay, I'll get back on it tomorrow.
Where did
and
you
then I'll
go?
get back on. I went through Capella.
See, let me tell you, I have a unique situation because I went to an HBCU for the medical school. Now,
What are you saying?
no, but to answer your question, when you said I knew it was cumbersome. It was more than cumbersome. But anyway, I can't imagine what it would have been like to go to a PWI, predominantly white institution for medical school, because going to Howard University, which is HBCUs are still responsible for more than 70% of Black physicians right now. I had a mentor who was already a doctor. I had a mentor who was a upper level medical student. I had a mentor who was a PhD if I had questions about my academics. Like, soon as you walk through those doors of an HBCU and you see all of these wonderful people that look like you, from the lunch lady who will put extra on my plate because she knew I was a starving medical student, to the actual president of the university, Dr. Wayne Frederick, who is my mentor, to have that behind you, I can't imagine doing it any other way. So I will say that it was hard, but I never felt alone. And that's one thing about perseverance. You can be the strongest you are. I can't imagine having to do it alone.
It can be challenging. I went to University of Virginia for graduate school, and I went to LSU for undergrad. And being at University of Virginia, one of the reasons, I think it's about the choices that you make, because it obviously is a PWI, but I chose that school because there was a lab there. My mentor, he a Black man, and he studied African American families, and he had a group of Black students. So I wanted to go into an environment where I felt comfortable, where I felt like people did have my back. And it definitely helped the experience, because being, I'm from Louisiana, but still, Virginia is the South, Thomas Jefferson country, and there was just always a lot going on there. So it is important to have that connection with people who look like you and who can support you.
Do we want to answer some questions from our followers? Yes, definitely. So I have a question from Mr. Edward, who says, what can a person do to relieve some of the anxieties tied to COVID-19 when you have a small child and elderly grandparents? So this kind of describes my Golden Girl situation I got going on at home. So my mother is there to help me with my 5-year-old daughter. So we have 3 generations of Hall women under one roof, 24/7 in a pandemic. There's a lot of anxiety. We are working from home and homeschooling, and we come from a very, very large family, and we need outlets. So before things even started to open up, we would take drives. We would get into the car with no particular place in mind and try to find an open space, an open highway, and just drive to see something different besides our home. And we got creative. On Thursday nights, we open with prayer with our family members that are in Michigan. And you just have to get creative and don't get swallowed by the 4 walls that you find yourself in at all time. We all have separate projects going on in the house. My daughter has her project where she is organizing her playroom, and I have my project, like I'm turning one of the rooms downstairs into a sunroom, meditation room, and my mom has turned a room into her sewing room. So we have projects separately in the same house that kind of helps. but also just being creative as far as communication, using the technology that we have at hand, and seeking a higher power when necessary.
Okay. All right. So my question was from Stacy, and the question was, how do you balance working out as an African American woman in the workforce and trying to maintain your hair? That can be a little tricky for us. Because I mean, I struggle with that, and I keep my hair braided a lot, and because I work out literally 4 to 5 days a week. But you have to also take into consideration your health. Like, it's not an option. It's kind of like pick your poison, So I don't want to be unhealthy with a pretty head of hair or pretty hair. I want to be a balance. I mean, some days I may look crazy. Sometimes I have to wear my half wig to work, and I look hideous. In fact, my friend Lakeitha's like, don't wear that wig again. Like, don't wear it again.
Friend.
Like, put it in the trash.
That's a good friend.
Like, don't wear it. And I'm embarrassed at work, but I'm like, okay, I get my hair done in 2 days, but I got to work out with my trainer, and then I train as well. So I think you have to have a balance. You may want to get your hair done on Friday and maybe take a break Saturday and Sunday, but Monday you need to hit it. You got to do something. It may not be weight training, but you've got to stay active. You can walk, you can jog, you can do yoga, but you've got to find what it is that you're comfortable doing. I like to lift weights. Everybody's not into lifting weights. But at the end of the day, we need to really focus on our health. That really comes with perseverance, because some days I don't want to go, but I make myself go. And those are my best workout days. Okay.
Or you can just cut your hair like I did.
And it looks
I cut this because I run, and I had a bunch of healthy
nobody's chasing me. I don't understand that.
Because I like to eat and I like cocktails.
I like to eat.
So that's why I run.
Eating is my ministry.
She said that's
Yeah. Look, we are all from Louisiana. We know good food.
Yes.
So
yes.
that is why I run. Yes.
Okay. Well, my question is from Lindsay. It says, how do you deal with a defiant teenager in addition to all else going on in the world? So I counsel teens. I love counseling teens because they are, they do the work. That's the thing. Sometimes with adults, you have to continue to hone on, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? With teenagers, it's like, hey, I did what you told me to do. And you can see the change. So I would tell parents, plus I have 2 kids of my own. So teenagers need structure, and they need discipline, and they need boundaries and rules. So that's what I would incorporate first, a level of structure for the child, as well as asking them open-ended questions to find out what is it that's going on with them that's causing them to be defiant. Sometimes, parents are so busy, caught up in the everyday of work and food, and especially if you're homeschooling now and you're working at home, you have so much going on to where you forget to have that one-on-one time with your child to find out what's going on with you. How do you feel? What's happening in your day to day? And sometimes they just want you to say, are you okay? So they can have that outlet to really talk to you. So not really ignoring them, but really taking the time to sit down and have a conversation with your teen.
Absolutely. Just giving them time and attention.
Yeah.
Working with high school kids, I know that all too well. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see what John has to say. He says, how do you recover from several major setbacks in your life due to COVID-19 and after losing a job? Now, this is what I would have to say, because this is such a tough time for everybody right now. And a lot of people are everyone's dealing with COVID-19, but also the instability of the job market right now is really tough for people. So what I typically advise people is, one, in order to maintain your mental well-being, you have to take care of the physical. As you know, physical and mental, they're tied. You can't have one without the other. So the basic foundational skills I tell people is to get plenty of sleep, because we underestimate our ability to actually we overestimate our ability to cope and to function on little sleep. And we kind of have this culture of, well, I only got 4 or 5 hours and I can function. But sleep is there to recharge your body. So you need to sleep, and kind of going back to your question, you have to move. You have to exercise and eat well. And another important thing that we talked about also is to have that social support, is to really reach out to people these days. And because once you reach out to people, you'll know that you are not in this alone. Mm-hmm. We are all dealing with COVID-19. Yes. A lot of people are dealing with job loss, just being unstable, financial insecurity. And when you have that common humanity of knowing that, hey, this is not just me, it does give you a sense of calm and peace. So what I advise people at this critical moment is also to give yourself a lot of self-care. Whatever you're doing for self-care, increase it at this point, because not only are we having just kind of a collective trauma response to everything that's going on, but there's also, with the racial injustice, it's just, we are all just a bit thrown off at this time. So we're out of balance. So you need to do whatever it is that fulfills you, whether it be exercising, whether it just commune with people, walk out in nature, just really basic things, just finding your own breath. Just breathe and just take some deep breaths.
And we just did that all, like she told us to do it.
I love it.
And it just is really relaxing, and it starts to calm your nervous system down. So, being able to have that self-care and give yourself some compassion each day, and just know I'm not in this alone. And as Sheriff Brown says, is really just stay the course, because you can make it through.
Awesome. I'm so happy to be sharing this table with you, doctors. You ladies are fabulous.
I'm so glad I just found out you were a cheerleader.
Oh my gosh.
Today, we discuss the importance of persevering through tough times. The price of perseverance may be tears shed, sleepless nights, a dream deferred. But the power of perseverance can be transformative. It allows you to see yourself clearly and remember the highest hope that you have for yourself. Ultimately, the payoff may just be your dreams realized. When you think about whatever you may be going through, just remember what Martin Luther King Jr. had to say. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, just keep moving forward.
I almost threw in the towel. I almost gave up on my dreams. But little did I know there were angels looking out for me, searching for happiness in all of the wrong things. Then I heard the voice of my Savior crying out for me. And God said, prove to me that you love me. And God said, prove to me that you care. And God said, prove to me that you love me, so that I know your love is real. You have asked the Lord for his blessings. You have asked the Lord to have favor over all the things in this world that you've gained. You have asked the Lord to have mercy. You've even asked the Lord to be true. You have asked the Lord to come and let his love come. and over all the things in this world that you've asked. There's only one thing that my Savior requests. And God said, prove to me, yeah, that you love me. And God said, prove to me that you care. And God said, prove to me that you love me. So that I know your love is real. Oh, and God said, prove to me that you love me. And God said, prove to me that you care. And God said, prove to me that you love me. So that I know your love is real. Oh, and God said, prove to me, prove it to me. God said, prove to me by your love. Show that you care. God said, prove it to me. So that I know your love is real. So that I know your love is real. So that I know your love is real.